Hello, my sweetheart.
Hi, Grandma.
Hi, darling. I was thinking of something. So tell me what the number was.
Okay. The first question is, what's the most important lesson that you've learned in life?
The most important lesson in my life that I learned?
Yes.
Oh, boy. The lesson that I've learned. Be more tolerant of people?
Well, actually, do you remember when I had to do that other interview with you and you started talking about how I remember like one of the big things that you told me was not to get married at 18 years old.
Yeah, that's right. I learned do not. That's right. Okay, I'll go that way. No, getting married is the last thing you do. That's what my mother always used to tell me. Anybody can get married. But you have to be a person before you get married. And you must have your own opinions and your own career and make something of yourself. Not to be a dependent woman like other women have in the past, before women in my generation were very dependent on their husbands to keep them at home and keep the mortgage paid and feed them, and they were called princesses. And that was the way it used to be. But now you learn that you have to be an independent woman and have a career of your own. To be happy with yourself. Does that help you?
Yes. I think that for the interview, like, we're gonna go mostly on that route and kind of talk about that. Because for my assignment, I have to kind of take one story of your life and kind of go in depth about that.
Okay.
So you want to kind of talk? I'm gonna ask you like questions. I mean that I might already know, but just kind of answer them for me, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
So when did you get married?
I was 18, 1951.
Okay. And how long were you with him before you guys got married?
How long was I what?
Were you guys together? Were you dating before you got married?
Oh, we were dating. I wasn't 16 yet. So 16 to 2.5 years.
Okay. And what made you...
dating to... What?
Keep going.
We were married in 1951. And I met your grandfather a week before I was 16. And we were steady from then on in.
Okay.
And then we got married in 1951.
What?
And we were married 34 years.
What made you decide to get married so quickly?
When did I decide to get married?
Why did you decide to get married so quickly?
Well, it wasn't so quickly. It was after keeping company for 2.5 years. From 16 to 18 and a half is when I got married. Because, why did I decide? Because that's what girls my age did. My mother offered me a college career, but I really was not college material, and I wanted to get married because he was going into the service. He was going to go into the Vietnam War. So I wanted to get married before he left.
Okay. And how long were you guys married before you guys, didn't you guys move somewhere?
Yes, we went to, he went into the Vietnam War, but he didn't go to Vietnam. We went to Austria, Salzburg, Austria. And I followed him there, and we spent a year in Austria, and then he came home, and I was pregnant with your Aunt Lori. We were married 18 years when we got a divorce.
Okay, so how long were you guys married before you left for Austria?
Probably, I came home at 19. Well, Aunt Lori was born when I was 21. So I probably was like 19.
Okay.
When I went to Austria, and I came back at 20, pregnant. And Aunt Lori was born when I was 21.
Okay, and how was it living in Austria?
beautiful, wonderful, fantastic, wonderful. Because there was no war. We did not go to Vietnam or anything. We went to Austria, Salzburg, and it was beautiful and wonderful. We had our own apartment, but he was still in the service. He was PFC.
What does PFC mean?
Private First Class. That's how he got promoted. Private, and then there's a private, and then there's a PFC, which is Private First Class. That was your grandpa first.
And what did you do, like, when Grandpa was away working or something?
Well, I stayed home. I was there about a year, and I stayed home in Austria and waited for him to come home. I couldn't get a job. I couldn't work because I wasn't in my own country. I stayed home. I had worked before we got married, but then I did not work after.
What did you do what job did you do before you moved to Austria?
I used to be a file clerk.
Where?
In that insurance company, New York Life Insurance Company in New York.
Okay.
New York Life Insurance Company. That was my first job.
Alright. And
something like that. What?
Keep going.
And then when we got married, I had to quit my job to get married because they wouldn't give me off for my honeymoon. So I had to quit my job. And then I had just, little jobs, nothing much. And then I went with Grandpa, went overseas. He went to Austria. And he called me and he told me to sell the car. I went back in with my mother, Grandma, Ruthie. And I went back in with my mother and family. And then I went to meet your Grandpa in Austria. And I was there a little over a year. I was there a year.
Okay.
And when I came home, I was pregnant when they were wars.
And what was it like when you came home after?
Well, I was happy to be home.
Right.
But we could not get the apartment. Apartments are very difficult to get. And I lived with my mother, my father, my grandmother, Grandma Brady.
How big was the apartment?
And then finally, the day I gave birth to Aunt Mary was the day your grandpa Bert got an apartment for us. Not too far away from Mother and Dad. We had to stay close. We couldn't go off to different states. We had to stay within, a bus ride. We had to stay very close. We didn't walk in distance. That's the way it was.
Grandma,
we couldn't go too far.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you fix the phone so that you're talking into it more clearly, please?
All right. Do you hear me better now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Okay. And did you see any type of change in the country before you went away to Austria and when you came back?
No. There was no war.
The war was over by then?
The Korean War. What?
The war was over by then when you came back?
Yes, but it was the Korean War. That was the Korean War when your grandpa had to go to Austria. It was in Korea. So that was over, and it wasn't too much changed.
Okay.
It was pretty much the same,
Okay, so, I'm sorry. Do you want to talk about that any more in depth at all? About, your time in Austria and anything about that?
It was beautiful. And what?
Just if you want to add anything.
Well, it was a beautiful country, and they were at peace. Austria was a neutral, Neurtram, I guess you would spell it neutral. In other words, they weren't German and they weren't American. They were not against anyone. It was a peaceful country and just beautiful because you could oversee the Swiss Alps. It was beautiful, cold and beautiful. It was a wonderful time of my life.
What was Grandpa doing at that time? I'm trying to think of how to word this. Why did they bring him to Austria?
Because he had allergies and they could not send him to Korea. Grandpa Bird had too many allergies. He had like 19 or 21 allergies. So I thought he was not going to be sent into the army. But they turned around and they did. They did take him. He did have to serve. And they sent him to Austria because there's no allergies in Austria. The air is cleaner.
Oh, okay. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that is funny, but that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What branch of army was Grandpa in? Was he in the Army, the Navy?
He was in the. No, he was in the Army. He was in the Army. He was. He was 3-year Army.
Okay. And did you guys live on a estate?
We lived in a private apartment that only took for offices, but your grandpa got us an apartment there anyway. It was very beautiful in Salzburg. The people in our building were all above. He was PFC, private first class here, grandpa, and we lived with lieutenants and majors. It was a very, very uppity building. We lived off base.
So he worked in an office?
No.
No?
He was in the infantry. He did not work in it. Your grandpa you're talking about?
Yes.
No.
What did
he was in regular, I think, the Signal Corps. He was in the Signal Corps.
Okay.
SIGNAL, CORPS.
Okay, and how did you travel to Austria? Talk about that a little bit. When you had to meet Grandpa?
Yes, I had to go to, I had to fly. Oh, no. I sailed on the Americana. That was the name of the ship. I sailed as a tourist. I sold our car and just paid for my passage, and I went on the plane into. Sorry. Let me start again. I sold my car to get the money for the transportation. I sailed on the U.S. America to La Havre, France, and Grandpa met me there.
Okay.
I sailed 5 days to La Havre, which is in France, and Grandpa met me there, and we traveled by the Orient Express into Salzburg, Austria.
Okay.
Passed in Paris, we passed Switzerland on the Orient Express. That was the name of the train.
Okay. And how long was Grandpa there before you went?
He was there, I don't know, maybe 4 to 6 months.
Okay. Okay, and then last question. What was your typical day like when you lived in Austria?
What was my what?
What was your typical day like? What did you do during, like...
I made friends in my building, friends of girls whose husbands were in the same situation, the same area, the same camp that Grandpa was in.
So they were Americans
too? So we piled around. They were married, and except their husbands were officers, and your grandpa became a PFC, which was better than a private, but not anything. They wanted Grandpa to be an officer, but in order to be an officer, because Grandpa was so smart, but in order to be an officer, he'd have to join the regular army, which is RA, and he would have to give an extra year. He'd have to stay there an extra year, and he didn't want to. So he just became a PFC, was the highest that he wanted to go, because he wanted to come out. He didn't want to stay an extra year so that he would be an officer. But he was smart enough to be an officer. They wanted to send him to officer training camp. But he didn't go. He didn't want to go because he'd have to stay an extra year. As it was, he was here a year. He was in service, I think it was just 2 years total.
Okay. And so you basically hung out with your friends in the building?
I hung out, yes, and yes, but I was under the jurisdiction of the Army if I did anything wrong. I went as a tourist. I did not go to Salzburg as the wife of a private, because they wouldn't pay for me or anything. I had to pay on my own. The only thing if I did anything wrong, then I would become under the jurisdiction of the Army. But otherwise, they knew I was there, and I had to obey the rules of the camp.
Mm-hmm.
And I hung out with these other women, and then, of course, your grandpa came home every night.
Right. What kind of...
You know.
You can keep going if you want.
Oh, no, it was just that we went, we did a little sightseeing. We went to Paris on a little weekend.
Was it close to Paris?
Well, it wasn't, no. Paris was close to not too far. Paris was where I had to go back on the plane, on the ship. And what did I say? I got on the ship? No. I got on the ship in New York. And I sailed to, where did I say I sailed to?
To Paris, or not to Paris, somewhere in France.
No. To where?
Somewhere in France, you said.
Yeah, in France, La Havre, Havre, La Havre, L-E, La Havre. That's where the ship docked, and that's where I had to go back to sail from the same place again. And I came home on the Ile de France.
Okay. So
France. I-L-E-E, France.
And the women that you hung out with in your building, they were all American too? They were all in the same situation?
They were all in the same situation, but their husbands had to spend the next year because they were all officers. And Grandma didn't want to do that. He wanted to just come home.
But they were American, right?
But they were American. They were all American. The soldiers were American, and the people that lived in my building were all American. We didn't have much to do. We used to go on the base where Grandpa was stationed and go to the movies and we had to go food shopping at the commissary. You had to take a bus, a local Austrian bus, to get to the, where you could buy things. You could only buy things at the commissary.
What is the commissary?
Clothes, whatever you wanted was in the commissary just for the soldiers.
What is a commissary?
Commissary, C-O-M-M-I-S-A-R-Y, I think. Commissary. That's where you bought your food, you bought clothes, or, household items, whatever you needed. You had to go to the government commissary.
Okay.
So that was like a whole day, taking the bus and going shopping and coming home. The day was over.
Right.
We got the girls and breakfast. And we lived, with our building were all Americans, but there were Europeans all around. I did not live on the base where your grandfather was stationed. We lived off the base privately.
What base was
paid
that?
our own rent. What base was that? Oh, God, I don't know. It was in Salzburg.
Oh, it's okay. I'll look it up.
Yeah, it was in Salzburg.
Okay, and then when you said that you had to abide by the rules of the Army, what kind of rules did they have?
A lot of the origins of the Americans. I was here as an American, and I had to obey the rules of the American soldiers.
What kind of rules were that?
I had to obey the same rules as your grandpa. We all had the same rules. We couldn't get into trouble. We couldn't stay out late. Pretty much the way it is now. You can't make a scene. You had to be careful. I was listed as a tourist, but I was under the jurisdiction of the U.S. government.
Okay.
They knew I was there, and they were going to pay for my passage back home, but I had already bought my ticket, so I didn't go with them.
Okay.
And then I was pregnant with your Aunt Lori.